This episode of Calling It Now was brought to you by my generous supporters on Patreon. Let's begin.
And you did it right from the start.
Hey everyone, Suede here, and the glorious speculation that is this bizarre experiment in bluffing continues. We've got something from one of my favourite decades in anime, the 90s. So let's frost our tips, put on our underachiever and proud of it shirt on under our flannel jacket, and get on with it! Alright, let's blow past the rules so the plausible deniability is in place, which is a very important thing for any YouTuber. This is a show where I watch, or perhaps subject myself to, the very first episode of an anime that I've never seen, voted on by patrons on my Patreon. Though at the moment I'm working through a backlog, so the next vote won't be for a while, just a heads up. I give a brief synopsis, provide my personal, subjective opinion on whether I would keep watching based on the episode alone, and then call it now as to how the show's going to turn out. Along the way there's going to be some audience participation, so open your mind and let the tropes flow through you. This week's anime was suggested by Henry H, who I'm led to believe is a very good dog. Yes he is a good doggy. Just don't ask about his backstory. As I said earlier, this week we're going pretty retro with Those Who Hunt Elves, a 12-episode show directed by Kazuyoshi Katayama for Group TAC in the hand-drawn frontier of 1996. It's based on a manga by Yu Yagami that ran from 94 to 03, and since the series finished in 97 after 2 seasons, this means the ending is probably way different between the two mediums. Anyway, I solemnly swear on my honor, such as it is, that I went into this episode completely blind, with even the production research being done after the fact. However, full disclosure, I did watch this and the second episode for one of my failed pilots, though I still have no idea what happens in the rest of the series, so it still works. I'm using the dub this week, but you'll see why soon enough. That out of the way, let's turn and face the strange. We open with Call It Now! Yes, I know it's a little unorthodox to open with this little challenge I like to put towards my viewers. Usually I give it at least a few seconds, but I just had to do it, it was too perfect. So how would you imagine this series, a medieval fantasy called Those Who Hunt Elves, to open? A. With a grand orchestral score offset by endless gratuitous fan service. B. With a jazzercise-worthy synth keyboard leading into a pop idol number. Or C. With a cringy 90s dub rock ballad sung by a Whitesnake cover band who clearly only does this crap to pay for rent. And the answer is... B. Remember, wrong answers subtract a point to a minimum of 0. No cheating. Yep, you may have thought Evangelion was the trailblazer when it comes to awkwardly jazzy synth horns leading into a decent pop melody and rapid montage credits, but it was beaten to it by at least this one. The animation itself is as gorgeous as you'd expect from the early 90s and actually ignores many anime opening cliches. Yes, there's still windswept ladies standing and close-up spins around the main characters' faces, but I didn't see a single running cycle, and they even subvert that first trope I mentioned with this awesome moment. I do get the feeling that they may have run out of budget at one point, however, considering how long this one bit takes. Holy bone daddy, are they on the moon? Well, okay, enough about that. We haven't even hit the show proper, for Pete's sake. How does it actually open?
In the name of the ancient god.
It opens with a virgin book sacrifice. For shame, what did that book ever do to you? Unfortunately, or fortunately, Satan Zelda over here gets angered by... something. I'm serious, there's no apparent impetus for her anger, it just kind of happens. I guess her knife wasn't as wiggly as she ordered? Anyway, since she's spaced out, the spell fails and splits into 5 pieces, or as the show so excellently puts it...
The restoration spell has been quinsected?
Quinsected. That is one of the most gorgeous words I've ever had the pleasure of rolling off my tongue, and it sucks that I'll never be able to use it in a sentence. Though it does sound like a good name for a Pokemon. Sorry, yes, the spell has been quinsected, and... Oh, come on, it was a cold opening? Okay, well now that I've waffled my way through 2 freaking openings in this show, let's actually begin the story proper with Brooklyn Fishmen Pirates. Now there's a sentence that hooks me from the start. It seems the Davy Jones rejects here are looking for someone, and Joey Hammerhead here is all...
Wise up, air breather! Bring out the elf now!
Oh jeez, I miss accents and dubs. Also, what the heck kind of sketch is that? If I'm going to be sitting here for the next hour, I might as well chunk the deuce. Even the sun is unimpressed. Yeah, that one's getting a sunburn. So it appears the fish people are those who hunt elves in this instance, and they just aren't making headway with Owen Wilson over here. The Joey Hammerhead's all...
Well, big talk for a shrimp.
Hey, watch it, Chief. My uncle married a shrimp.
When the darkness of chaos approaches, brave warriors from a strange land appear, commanding their...
Call it now!
Bringing peace and banishing fear.
A. Canon of Miracles, B. Ballista of Dreams, or C. Trebuchet of Friendship? And the answer is
Commanding their canon of miracles, bringing peace and banishing fear.
A. The Canon of Miracles. I don't know why that tickles me so, but it's just such a refreshing name for a magical weapon. Not the Crystal of Fate or the Sword of Hope. The Canon of Miracles. I want to go on that chosen one's journey. But after Owen Wilson finishes his Greek chorus, Joey Hammerhead pretty much reacts in the same way I did, for admittedly different reasons.
Is that it? Praying for a miracle to save you because you're too weak for the job?
And he starts to lay on the fish mafia protection pitch. Weird how fish and mafia seem to kind of go together in the collective consciousness. Must be the whole loan shark thing. Anyway, he's all, "It's a nice town you got here. It'd be a shame if some guests like fish stayed for more than 3 days and, stunk up the joint, you feel me? See, it's a take on an old proverb." Ow, my sharky little snout! Yes, we have ourselves an upstart, shrill 20-year-old, judging by his voice.
Get out of our village now, you big ugly fish heads!
Bronco!
Bongo! Wow, I've heard some dumb anime names, but Bongo...
Bronco!
Oh, there was an R in there, wasn't there?
Bronco!
Oh, it's Bronco. Still, that's not exactly a medieval fantasy name, is it? Come, Bronco, we needs must transport these pigs to the market. The rent to Lord Tumbleweed and Bon Jovi must be paid by sundown. Disregarding all that, Bongo is strung up and an ultimatum is struck.
We're gonna wait till sunset. If I don't get what I want, your baby brother will be sleeping with us.
What? That's disgusting. Oh, they're gonna drown him, I get it. Phew.
Don't worry, Andy! The brave warriors will be here in time!
I freaking love this kid. He sounds like he has one hand on a stovetop and told he can only take it off if he reads his lines slowly.
Yes, and you'll be sorry!
Well, unfortunately, we must leave little Bongo as Owen Wilson goes to meet up with the elf in question, who's peacefully meditating by the ocean. Either that or she's doing one boring rendition of the caramel dancing. Fluttershy's all, "Speak not, the ocean breeze has revealed to me your plight." You can speak with the ocean? No, I just have really big ears. Surprised you haven't noticed already. So then Owen does what he does best. Repeat the prophecy while sounding like a washed out beach bum.
You are a fairy spirit of wind, and it's by your protection that we ride the sea safely. And I believe in the village legend, the warriors will not fail us.
You know, if she really is a spirit of wind capable of calming raging seas, you'd think she'd be able to do something about the fishmen, like a tornado or something. Well, there's no time for such childish thoughts though, as they race to hide Fluttershy while a fishman makes himself comfortable at the local diner.
You've really got some gills to be serving fried fish to me!
Geez, what's your problem, fella? You're a freaking flounder. Your species isn't exactly known for their vegan lifestyle. Well, luckily for the chef, Reverse Vash sends him packing and then nearly drops the freaking title.
Might you be the legendary warriors?
No, not us. We're those who hunt. Oh!
So it turns out these are those who hunt elves, and after prototype Faye Valentine notices Owen Wilson trying to sneak food to Fluttershy, we cut to Call It Now! A samurai with a sword arm, B, an accountant with a chainsaw, or C, a schoolgirl with a high-powered rifle. And the answer is... C. Yeah, if I wasn't watching this closely, I could have sworn I fell asleep at the laptop for how jarring this is. So yes, they have Tank Girl over here running covert ops. Meanwhile, Fluttershy is just too noble to let the village suffer on her behalf, so she runs back to the village. Owen Wilson spots her and tells her to head back, but oh no, it was actually Proto-Faye in disguise. But oh no, the real Fluttershy really did turn herself into the fishmen, so now the second group of elf hunters are forced to reveal their hand. As we digest this, we're treated to one of the most inappropriate ad transition jingles I've ever heard.
I found the elf!
Damn!
Who are you?
Wow, that's bad. I know this is a pretty light-hearted show, but it's still a tense moment. Imagine if you put that tune on some other famous ad breaks.
Who are you? Tell me.
Vicious.
Who are you?
Well, it seems all is lost. Fluttershy is under the control of the fishmen, while Bongo continues his marvelous burnt-hand delivery.
Keep away from her, you son of a seahorse! At auction!
Only for her doppelganger to show up and muddle up the proceedings. I love Fluttershy's expression here. It's like she's thinking, way to push the narrative that we all look the same, lady. Instead of buying some more time with the confusion, the doppelganger reveals herself to be none other than Proto-Faye, a master of disguise. The thug's reaction to this is beautiful.
Damn, fine. You gotta break me like I want to be fake, baby.
Man, I love 90s dubs. Then Proto-Faye books it with Fluttershy, while Reverse Vash over here punches the fishmen into the sky.
Looks like we're blasting off.
Tank Girl snipes an attempted crossbow murder, and then Vash punches the fishmen into the sky Again, way to recycle the animation, guys. Looks like we're blasting off again! Finally, he takes on the big cheese himself, and it's going well until Reverse Vash gets blindsided by, call it now, A. Blade Beam, B. Tentacle Violation, or C. Chum Flurry. And the answer is... A.
I keep forgetting about that. It's swords and sorcery.
To be honest, me too. What with all these guns and stuff, I actually had forgotten this was high fantasy rather than hard fantasy. So he's put on the back foot, but after Protophe fakes an injury, the potent cocktail of hormones and adrenaline kicks in and he hulks out to hilarious effect.
Oh, shut your friggin' mouth! I'm gonna make fish patties out of you!
So it all seems to end well, the bad guys are dispatched, and all that's left is, okay, it appears out of nowhere Captain Sunfish has decided to level the town. There's no way Reverse Vash can punch back those cannonballs, so how on earth are the companions going to save the day now? Why, with the cannon of miracles, of course.
When the darkness of chaos approaches, brave warriors from a strange land appear, commanding their cannon of miracles, bringing peace and banishing fear.
Yes, the Canon of Miracles, spoken of in prophecy, was a freaking Type 74 Japanese battle tank. See, this was why I got into anime. So the tank wipes out the pirate ship crewed by fishmen, and I can't get this stupid smile off my face, and then finally all's well that ends well. But why did the heroes want the elf in the first place? Well, let's call it now. A. They simply wanted to hand her into the crime boss first, causing a super dark twist in the tale. B. They needed to strip her in order to find a piece of the spell from the beginning. Or C. They need her to find that elf from the beginning who went super evil. And the answer is...
If there is anything I can do, please ask.
Take your clothes off.
What?
B. Yes, the spell, which was meant to send the troop back to Japan, was not only quinsected, but it slapped itself onto the skin of 5 random elves across the land, which the trio need in order to get back to Japan. Yeah, you tend to forget how pervy the comedies were in the 90s. Luckily, it actually isn't gratuitous at all.
So take off your flippin' clothes!
The reaction to the request is still hilarious, if somewhat eye-roll worthy.
It is a request from the brave warriors. It's not like they're gonna kill her. Or auction her off.
Wait a second here!
We also see that Satan Zelda is watching them in horror, while certain traditions are left somewhat tainted.
Those people! They were those who hunt elves!
And you just now figured that out, you idiot!
And then we end on a lovely nostalgia hit of a good old-fashioned walk cycle credit sequence. Well, that was Those Who Hunt Elves. Did it hook me? I'll say I did. This thing was a riot. To be fair, and to put all my cards on the table, when I had my anime awakening, this being when I discovered Adult Swim action and realized anime can be for grown-ups too after enjoying Pokemon and Digimon and the like, it was the late 90s, early 2000s, so the sharp, angular character design, hand-drawn animation cells, and let's call it rough and ready voice acting, provide me with a warm glow of nostalgia that I'm sure is causing some bias. But even bearing that in mind, this was a high-concept thrill ride that grabs you by the lapels and demands you give it more attention. Yes, the plot is thinner than an early Final Fantasy game, and there doesn't seem to be anything going on beyond the surface level, but dang, this is one charming surface. The animation is great, and all 3 layers of humor, intentional, dub-added, and unintentional, are consistently funny, and each boosts the episode when the others lag. And, lest we forget, it's a medieval fantasy with a giant tank. I honestly don't know what else I can say at this point. It's just awesome. Would I watch it to the end if I had time? My goodness, yes, so much that I'm tempted to try and fit it into my busy schedule anyway. Strangely enough, if I did slot it into an unusual time in my schedule, that would be an interesting reflection of how the show became popular in the first place. You see, this show was originally aired in Japan at a crazy time slot late at night, but then it exploded in ratings after salarymen and late workers stumbled home needing something fun and unchallenging to cool down with before falling asleep. This actually caused a major shift in anime production, and the late night revolution indirectly led to some of the best anime of the painted cell era before the industry went fully digital 3 years later. Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, Bubblegum Crisis, Serial Experiments Lane, and countless others all owe a debt, however small, to this series. That in and of itself almost makes me want to watch the rest of it almost out of respect. For more on how the late night revolution changed anime, check out this awesome article by Tori-san Anahokuri for the extremely informative blog Animetics. Link in the description. But all that aside, now that I've fallen in love with this show, where do I think this relationship is going to go? Well, calling it now, I'm going to say nowhere fast. As in, this is going to be episodic as all get out, with each week bringing a new monster or a town where they get up to wacky hijinks. There's a hot lady elf which the trio will attempt to strip down in the most wholesome of ways, but there's always some kind of resistance, some sort of spider migration or a crystal gladiator games or a Romeo and Juliet situation that occurs. About halfway through we get a fey villain who is behind the bounty on the elves which created all this competition for the trio, and it's revealed he's actually some kind of CEO from our world who wants to create a portal between the worlds so that he can take them over. He's tried before, you see, but only succeeded in bringing over the trio. This is probably why they have a tank too. He wanted to see if he could gain access to the military. At the end, the trio come together, make peace with the different elves and villages they crashed in the past, and together they stop the big bad, have a tearful goodbye with Satan Zelda, and return to Earth, along with a plucky animal sidekick, because even back then, there was always a wacky, marketable critter. But what am I talking about? That's way too implausible. No, it's far more likely that after a few more silly episodes to further brainwash you into thinking it's all in good fun, it's rapidly made abundantly clear that the whole show was financed by the conservative parties in Japan as anti-globalist propaganda. Think about it. These three avatars of Japan, representing its military might, biological superiority, and culture, are placed in a world beyond their understanding, and what happens? They screw things up constantly. They're uncomfortable and out of place, and the only way to undo the damage they've done is to strip away the trappings of international cultures and take back the restoration of their isolationist stance. Soon they'll be fighting representations of each of the major continents, screwing it up, realizing their mistakes, and vowing to take their values back to their homeland. The big bad will be an American pop star whose final form is a star-spangled eagle, and the three will combine with the help of the restoration spell into a giant samurai, expelling the West and returning to the nation that truly needs them. Wake up, sheeple! Guys, today, I just can't do it. Over a year of patron gags, and I just... Look, just give me this one, okay, alright? There's always one that's just plain. This is the plain one. Thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who have done a great job in supporting me through the years. Of particular note are John, Joel Young, P.O.B., Joel Schuler, Graham Morality, Alison Bennett, Koo Rhines, Jonathan Powell, Evan Bow, Matt Stores, Clayton Goodman, Henry H., Goose Razorbush, Calvin Atkinson, Cartoon Kitsune, Christian Larson, Mitchell Hinkleman, Mummy Watching, and Colleen. Then there are the higher tier patrons like Trey McGowan, who requested a picture of a motorcycle rooster, Grant Gangle, who requested a picture of a lich, Colleen French, who requested a picture of her in a rocket-powered wheelchair, Loomsy96, who requested a picture of a Power Ranger, Ticking 101, who requested a picture of him as a Straw Hat Pirate, Ryan Griffin, who requested a picture of him as Marty McFly, Andrew Welsh, who requested a picture of him reading a book, and Zachary Taylor, who requested a picture of him as former President of the United States. There's lots of others who have also made requests, such as Elio Rivette, Super Bunny Bun, Stephen Walker, Doug Major 707077, The Dark Master, James Nicholson, Wheels, and Cameron McLeod, and they will get their commission picture sooner or later. Thank you guys. Without you, I honestly wouldn't be where I am today. That sounds like a trite sentiment, but it's absolutely true in this case. So that was Those Who Hunt Elves. Remember that this is still early days and I'm always looking for feedback. Thanks for indulging, and calling it now, you're going to find some way to use the word quinsected in a conversation this week.
Commanding their canon of miracles, bringing peace and banishing fear.
Here's someone to ask for a miracle. Let me hear you say, ow! That's close enough.